Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
That's it. That's almost exactly what you had left. 3 seconds. All the time in the world. All the time in the world.
Yeah, I may have been in show business a little while, right? Like I can count that down in my head.
Okay, I know there's a cue point coming. I gotta get there now. And here we are.
That's exactly it. Don't miss those mic cues.
Good evening and welcome everyone tonight. This is one of those shows that we're going to be covering a lot of different aspects of lighting and things outside, because this is the time of year where we're getting ready for, as an example, Halloween. This is for some people. There's and Ben's going to show some pictures of doing things outside in the winter. Which, if you're not sure what winter is, we're going to get into that tonight in tonight's show. And then this is kind of a little precursor for 2021, when there's going to be more events that are held outside as the weddings start to come back into the tent world. So we've got a lot of ground we're going to be covering tonight in our show.
Sounds good to me.
So
let's do it.
Let's actually.
Everything sounds good except for the winter part.
Well, yeah, I think we've got some fun stuff to talk about there, though. First off, this has already been a question that has popped up a couple of times during the last couple of days. Is Halloween is just around the corner? First off, availability of, for those who want to decorate, and there's they're looking for foggers or UV lights and such. Are those things available right now pretty easily, or are they kind of one of those things that are haven't made it across the ocean, what have you, because of the COVID stuff?
Right now, most of that stuff is in stock. Right now we're in okay shape. So yeah, and everybody should know it's 2020, so there's going to be trick only, no treat. That's just the way the year is going. But yeah, we have most of that stuff in stock, and I think we have decent stock. But it's one of those things. Don't wait, because a week before Halloween, nobody's going to have it. Not the good stuff. The good stuff's going to be gone.
So and for those who are wanting to, what kind of lights and such we suggest, I think a year or two ago we did a Halloween show where you can go back to youtube.com/discjockeynews and search for Halloween. That'll pop up the show we did where we talked about a lot of the lights. Pretty much some of the old popular, the strobes and the UV lights and different things such as that really are the old reliables are still the mainstay of Halloween.
Yeah, and for a good reason. You can do so much. Really, what we're talking about is lighting design here, and we're basically talking about theatrical lighting. And in essence, in that we're trying to make people believe they're somewhere else. And the things that you can do with invisible UV paints, the things that you can do with strobe lights, and that's a pretty simple. I mean, really, when you think about it, all a strobe light is doing is limiting your field of vision. You only have snapshots of visibility, and so it helps kind of create confusion and disorientation and illusion in the brain. And so really, you can think about all your other LED lights in that way too. It's no different, except that it's completely different than what we do in a banquet space or a wedding, where we're using these lights to create atmosphere and ambiance. We're just doing it in a spookier way for Halloween. So. But I've seen some really interesting ways this has been done. I remember like the creepy clown room, and it was a very festive circus, bright colors, fast moving lights, and that was all thematic though, because I don't know, some people are just terrified of clowns to begin with, but that was all thematic because then here came these, creepy clowns. So the lighting in that case was sort of supposed to be kind of counter to, the scary clown that was going to come out. And just anyway, it's really, I mean, we can't dwell on Halloween, I know, because we got a lot of great stuff to talk about, but we used to exhibit at the Haunted Attraction Show. Mm-hmm. And it was always fascinating to see what the prop builders would make. And they would spend all year building these giant expensive props, and they would bring them, and, maybe they'd only sell one all year, and that was okay. Maybe my favorite, and I might've talked about this in the Halloween show, was a giant facade of a locomotive complete with lights and horn on a pneumatic ram that came out at you, and it looked like a train coming at you. And I always thought about the night guard working at this convention center, walking around with all these proximity sensors and, things jumping out at you. I thought, man, that guy probably went through years of therapy,
And tell me again why your hair is gray at 23. Well, you see.
Yeah, well, let's see. I was a convention center security guard, and that was all fine until we did the Halloween show.
It got really bad. So let's one of the mainstays for the Halloween type decorations is foggers. Let's spend just a couple of minutes talking foggers, then we're going to get into a lot of the lighting photos. Foggers can range in price from not a whole lot to quite a bit, a substantial amount. What kind of things, if a person's looking for a fogger, what kind of things should they be really looking for in that line if they want to be able to have something they can take out and use outside and such, whether it's for Halloween or even under a tent for use for a dance that way?
Well, I'm going to shoot from the hip on this one. I would say number one is water-based. There are still some oil-based machines, but really I think I think that ship has sailed, and I think anything that our viewers are going to want is they're going to want a water-based machine. Two is to understand what kind of fogging you want to do. Do you want big, thick, heavy plumes of fog, or do you want a thin haze? And there are some machines called phasers and the like that kind of do both. Sort of you can hybrid between the two. So I think that would be it. And if once you've decided that, I think then it would be deciding how much output you need. And if you want to fog outside, let me tell you, you're going to need a bunch. I mean, just it's going to blow away, and then it's gone. That's the end of it, right? So.
Our foggers at one time, the foggers I had when we first started getting those had a duty cycle, or you'd run it and then it would have to stop and heat up. Is that still very common? I haven't purchased a fogger in a number of years because of venues not having the ability to use them. Is it still
the cost thing?
Yeah. Okay, so as you get up, you can get into some.
Yeah, there are foggers that you can. I mean, there are foggers you can hook up to a 55-gallon drum and just let her rip. They will just go and go and go. And we sell foggers for a variety of applications. Some are safety applications where they're using them for fire training, whether in simulated buildings or simulated airplanes. That's one of the scariest things I ever got to experience. One of our customers does airplane rescue training. And they were near us and said, "Hey, do you guys want to actually see what your stuff's being used for?" And we said, "Sure." Mm-hmm. And we got in this simulated airplane, and then they simulated to set it on fire. And we were like, "This isn't cool. Like, we gotta get out of here." But how do you train for that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's great that our men and women in emergency services are training for that, and probably flight attendants and whatnot too. So that isn't their first time experiencing that. So there are foggers that can run a long, long time, if not just ultimately continuously. But again, you need power to heat that heater core. So you got to think about power supply. And two, it's a cost thing. The last thing, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this in our Halloween show, but it bears repeating, is particularly if you're in a cold climate like Minnesota, think about thermal shock, where if I've got a fog fluid at 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which it won't freeze at. It doesn't freeze until about 20 below because it the content of it makes it kind of like an antifreeze. But that's then going into this heater core, and there's a substantial temperature change occurring very rapidly. So kind of think about that. Cheap foggers tend to die fast in that environment. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things. You get kind of the old get what you pay for scenario,
Okay, so let's move on to talking lighting. There's a variety of different types of fixtures that we use when we're indoors. Uplights, we're doing gobos, we're doing different things such as that. Is there really any of the type of indoor lighting that we use that can't be transferred out to an outdoor event, a tent type event?
Well, I think any indoor light can be an outdoor light as long as the weather cooperates. That's the grand change here. Well, I'm sure there's a better word for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the consequence of live TV. If you don't have a word, it's too late.
Just make it up as we go.
Yeah, that's the
grand thingy that whatchamacallit. Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
That's why I keep my Darth Vader mask handy.
Yes.
It's the grand
wow.
You heard me.
That I did, and it was really insightful.
Well, that's our show for today. So.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
I actually have a good picture that I'm just going to throw up real quick. This summarizes outdoors in one picture, I think.
So now, I'm looking at that shirt looks a touch wet. I'm not sure. Did the dryer not work?
Yeah, well, you don't put your clothes in the dryer with you in them. I don't.
There is that.
So the question here is it sweat or rain? And the answer is yes, because Outdoors gave us a 1-2 punch right away. It rained and then it got extremely hot. So it was like working in a greenhouse. And I took this picture just to show how thrilled I was about how it was going.
You do look thrilled.
Yeah, that's my happy face.
No, your camera froze.
Yep, I know.
Yeah,
and
okay,
I'll
you
get
can
it
see
going.
it.
We're gonna have I think that's gonna be a recurring theme today. So.
Seems to be, but that's okay. We'll get into showing. So let's take a look at some examples of utilizing lighting effects and fixtures outside in a variety of different applications.
Well, it was 82 degrees here today, which is
day.
a tremendous change.
Yes.
Favorably. I actually ate dinner outside today and thought, boy, I'm not going to be able to do that very much longer. So with that in mind, do you want to do warm pictures first or cold pictures first?
Cold are so much more fun. So let's leave the cold ones towards the end because there's always so much color that we can add to cold pictures because a percentage of our viewers, like Robin, if she's in for a treat.
Yeah, it's one word for it. Yeah. Yeah, and of course we have cold here that, even if you have cold, I was talking to my pal Ernie we talked about him in our outdoor movie show. We were talking about, Washington versus Minnesota winters. And certainly their winters are not pleasant, but I think cold here is just dialed at a whole new level. One of the industries here, as we've talked about, I think is automobile testing. They basically send cars here to die. This is where they send, they send them to see if they will survive in the worst place on earth.
There we go. That's they don't send them there to die. They're to survive. Glass half full.
They do die.
There is that.
Anyway, so all right, so warm weather it is, and we'll save the cold for later. All right, so let me do this. Let me find some warm weather pictures. And I've got some pictures courtesy of some friends. We've got some from Eric Hess and Mike Regan. And I think Nate Bennett's has some in here as well. Let's do some of these. And we got some movies too. Why
Excellent.
not? Yeah, let's have a little. I'm just going to tee up a whole bunch of pictures. How about that?
Tee 'em up. Tee 'em up.
I am going to do it.
Tarsi said that the house is red tonight on the outside. So,
and of course we had the and thank you, Tarsi, and I believe Tarsi's in Canada. I kind of lost track if that's their red alert day. Of course, we had ours a Tuesday a couple of weeks ago, and I lit my house up red, and I was actually disappointed. None of my neighbors asked. I was kind of hoping somebody would say, "What are you doing?" Because I felt like it'd be a really good opportunity to talk about it. But then again, it was, I was on the local TV station, I was in the local newspaper, and I was on 3 or 4 local radio stations. So maybe the word was out.
I doubt it. They probably just are like, what is he? He's doing something again. Honey, ignore him.
They're like, "Oh, it's the Stowes." He got bored because he doesn't have concerts to do, so he lit up his house red.
Exactly. When he starts playing the loud music, then we'll have to deal with it.
I was thinking about having an epic party next year when, maybe not epic. I don't know if I'm an epic party kind of guy, but I think I could really do something fun for our neighborhood next year when it's safe to gather together in groups again. But then again, hopefully I'll just be too busy out doing it for people that are paying for it. So
there is that.
All right, let's take a look at some pictures, shall we?
Yes. What do you got?
Here, this is an outdoor picture. As you can see, it's an airplane. Now, of course, we've lit airplanes indoors too. But kind of cool where obviously the event is outdoors, and for whatever reason, the airplane is an important part of that. So we want to highlight these things. And that, I think, is one of the great things about lighting. And I've talked about this in some of my presentations, how they made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Lighting is great because it allows you to show people what you want them to see. So we can bring focus to things we want people to see, and we can also take attention away from things we don't want them to see.
You mean the Statue of Liberty didn't disappear?
Shoot, you know what? I was sworn to secrecy on that deal too. A friend of mine was the production manager for Copperfield, so
it did disappear.
Yeah, it absolutely did.
It did. Okay.
Did. Magic is real.
Magic is real, and Santa will be bringing me my present.
Leave Santa out of this. Santa is real. Okay.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's all right. Okay.
Gosh.
I still believe.
Yeah, I keep getting a present every year, so I'm not stopping until like I'm old like you.
You know what? It's the story of these two brothers, big brother and little brother. And uncle says to the little brother, he says, "Do you want this great big nickel or this tiny little dime?" And the little brother says, "I'll take the great big nickel." And the uncle gives him the nickel. And the big brother says, "You dummy, don't you know a dime is worth twice that?" And the little brother says, "Yes. And as soon as I take the dime, he's going to stop doing it." So
there you are.
I still believe. All right. Let's move on. Here's a great shot from Eric Hess. And this is clearly not Minnesota. But, here again, just kind of using the lights. You get some bistro lights that are lighting up the area. But we've also got some accent lighting, a couple different colors on the trees, and just taking the natural architecture that's already there and highlighting that. And then, of course, we can see a gobo on the tent in the background, some breakups. And here again, just another shot of some contrasting colors to give the natural landscape a little bit of character. More of the same. Again, clearly not Minnesota trees.
They're close.
Yeah. Now this is what my trees would look like in Minnesota. I mean the deciduous one in the corner, not the palm trees. Sadly. And, just some building architecture.
And most of this right now we're looking at with the trees and the columns here, that's all uplighting that we're looking at, that they're shooting basically from the base right up the tree.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, I've seen people put lights halfway up. So, I've seen them go both up and down, but I've seen them also do that to, again, create more complex looks. Here's what I love about lighting. There really isn't a lot of wrong. It's really very subjective. It's artistic. So it's just a lot of room to be creative here, which is really pretty cool. Another airplane.
How many? So in a picture like that, how many light point sources of the airplane? There we go. How many lights did that take? Just a ballpark. Do you think to make that happen?
I am counting just what I see, and this isn't my shot. I'm going to say 3. It could be 2 and it could be 4. It's hard to tell from this vantage point.
Right.
But I'm going to say 3. I remember a lighting job I did inside of an air museum. And of course, the name of the game was to light the planes and things. And by the way, they liked it so much they installed a system.
Eric said 4.
4.
Thank you, Eric.
I was close. All right. Thank you. Yes. And he's watching. Well, how intimidating is that? But one of the things that they wanted to auction off a car. And so we talked about, we talk about additive and subtractive light, the subtractive, elements of pigments, paints, that sort of thing, and the additive elements of like color mixing LEDs. We kind of found the colors that really made this paint on this car they were auctioning just pop. It made the car look like it was glowing. And they just thought that was amazing. I'm like, no, it's just physics. Magic is real. We established that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So is physics. So
does Santa bring ice cream? I'm just wondering. This thought came to my head. I'm thinking 2 great things all in one.
No, Santa doesn't bring ice cream, but Santa brings joy. And let me tell you what, we can really use some of that in 2020. For those who don't know, I guess there's no harm in telling you, because I don't use this for any password. My birthday is November 1st, which happens to be, I think, the change of daylight savings time this year back to standard time. So of all the things on my birthday, 2020 gets longer.
That is, falls back, gives us 25 hours instead of 24. So
I'll be really looking forward to seeing that jolly old elf come December. How about that? Anyway, one of Mike's photos here. Also, you can tell this is Minnesota because the tent, not Minnesota, because the tent is open. Mm-hmm. Weather's just too unpredictable here. Here we can see some color on the landscape features and the just the trees and then some bistro lighting. So I believe this is one of Nate's pictures. Some just some examples of tent lighting.
Yeah.
So even if we're outdoors but under the tent, now the lights used in this are not outdoor lights. These are all indoor fixtures, but again, under tent cover, they're probably going to be just fine. Certainly for most temporary applications, they'll be just fine. Mm-hmm. So you asked, can an indoor light be used outdoors? Yeah, absolutely. Just know that, and I've got some great pictures from Mark from Eternal Lighting, videos actually, excuse me, because I think they're going through, I'm not sure if it's, if this was actually from the hurricane or not, but anyway, it's doggone close. Got some video from that. I'll show you there in a minute. Here's a good shot. Just kind of see it's, mounted to the tent, variety of ways, using clamps or U-bolts, that sort of thing. Here you can see them mounted. I think we've seen some duplicates. All right, now this one's kind of cool because we're kind of in an outdoor courtyard, but there's a lot of things going on here. I think I've got another shot of this. Here we can see uplights, and we can also see a gobo.
Yep.
And here's an overhead shot of that same view where we can see a full color gobo on the wall of the blue moon. We can see the monogram gobo saying "Once upon a blue moon," but then of course we've got lighting under the tables. We've got some uplights, and again, it's not overdone. It's not overstated. It's just sort of adding some some ambience and character and whatnot to it. So
they're using a gobo projector to create those.
Yes. I don't know the exact fixture. I believe these were, I think these were Ultras, probably Ultra 120, maybe an Ultra Mini on that gobo. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, there you go. You can see it right here. Mm-hmm. The Ultra projecting that.
So the Blue Moon, that obviously is not a metal gobo. What kind of a gobo would that one be?
That's a glass gobo, or it's a Coolink gobo. And I'll explain the difference real quick. A Coolink gobo is basically two thin layers of treated glass with a dye-sublimated plastic layer in between. And it's great for inexpensive, short-term applications. That gobo will eventually bleach out, and it won't look the same. Mm-hmm. Now, a glass gobo uses dichroic layers in there, uses dichroic glass. And those, I have glass gobos that I've been using in 1200 watt moving lights. So there's a tremendous amount of UV light being passed through those. And they're probably 10 years old now, mm-hmm. and they still look great.
Nice.
So, the difference is a glass gobo is going to run you like $400. A Coolink gobo is going to run you like $59. So if you only need it for one night, spending $400 is probably silly. But after 10 years, I'm way money ahead on these gobos.
Certainly.
And this one is an indoor picture, but nonetheless, I left it in there because I wanted to show on the walls, you can see the pattern. That is projected. We've got some uplights, but you can also see the projected pattern, and those are also gobos. Yeah. And again, it just changes that room. It just gives it a whole new look and feel and character that it didn't have before. So not only are we changing the color base of the wall, we're also adding this texture to it and really making it unique to that day and that event. And that's done with gobos and something like the Ultra as well.
Yeah, nothing like having grandma's curtains up all over the place.
If it's what you want. When Gatsby was a big thing, we saw a lot of Gatsby themed stuff. It just, well, of course, this is a great time to say it depends. So there's some happy, fun video froze again.
Yeah, at least you weren't in a scowling. You had that kind of a jaw.
I do have resting angry face. I don't.
Sometimes it is. We've got a couple of those tonight, but most of them
when I post a serious picture of me, like thinking or something where I'm like. People are like, "You look really mad." I'm like, "No, this is my thinking face. I'm serene. I'm deep in thought. I've resting angry face. I can't help it. Just know that no matter how I look, I'm probably happy.
That's what we'll go with that. unless the ice cream is late.
None of them not happy.
No,
That's
not happy. So those were warm weather pictures of examples of using lighting, uplighting, and different gobo projection, what have you. Now, how much of that can't go to cold weather situations?
Well, it all can. And I've got some examples. I think we can kind of show all of the above. But just like heat is really bad for electronics, in many ways, heat is worse. Cold presents its own set of challenges. And of course, because you live in Minnesota, anything that moves doesn't move anymore. So anything mechanical becomes, brittle and stiff. Optics become fogged. LEDs often don't generate enough heat to clear the fog out of the optics. So there's just a whole new set of challenges when you're working in the cold, especially the kind of cold that we have. Let's take a look at some, shall we?
Let's do that. I think this could be an educational moment.
I think people will dig this. So let's do this. This was a big deal. This was called Hockey Day Minnesota, and it is really more like a festival than it is a hockey game. It's actually several hockey games, some of which are nationally broadcast. They essentially built an outdoor hockey arena, bleachers, scoreboard, lighting, sound system.
And they built it on a parking lot because that looks like a really smooth and level area in which you're on. So that has to be a parking lot, right?
It is, yeah. Or graded land. They built the hockey rink on. It wasn't a parking lot, but it was graded surface. This might have been a parking lot. Hard to tell because there's snow on everything. What we can see though here, a couple things I want to point out is we can see the gobo on the tent, and you can see that there's a light on some truss right here, and here again, that we actually left that light on for, I think, like 4 days straight because we didn't want it to be changing temperature overnight. And we'll talk about what the temperature was for this in a little bit. But we just said, you know what, once we get this thing up and focused and the optics cleared, we're going to leave it on. And that's that. Also some bistro lighting. But the other thing we can see are these electrical spools, these wire spools, which they made into makeshift tables. This is kind of the fan festival area, as it were. We had some LED screens outside, and I'll show you those in a second. But we can also see these electrical spools, and they are battery powered. If you look down here, you can actually see the battery in this shot. Now, here was our trick. Couple challenges. One, the batteries had to be removable, because they had to be brought in and charged overnight, because this was going to be used night after night after night. They had to run for an ample amount of time. I'll talk about batteries here in a sec as I get on. We also had some outdoor lighting here, just highlighting doors and that sort of thing. And, again, just some challenges. And then, of course, there's a guy who looks very surprised to be caught in the picture. He's actually one of our crew. So you can see a road case with our logo in the background there. Still getting things set up and going here. So the batteries had to be brought in and charged overnight. And one of the challenges of this is that, the batteries would derate substantially. In the cold weather that we had, these batteries would get, maybe a quarter of the life that they normally would. So we had to calculate what the draw was and then try to guess as best we could what that derating would be on these batteries. And we just used, standard gel cell type so that they could easily be, recharged and was very little risk of fire or explosion, if the battery got damaged by the cold, that sort of thing. So anyway, it's kind of a low tech job, just tacking this light on the spool and, getting everything. We pre-built all the assemblies with the lighting and the battery cables. Here we can see a finished product. They provided like a garage for us to build these in, and it was not heated in the garage, and that was very much a challenge. But that's where the spools were. The spools weren't ours. We had to go where the spools were, so we couldn't do it in our nice heated warehouse. Anyway, let's talk about the weather, shall we? So it got down, I think, to like minus 36 Fahrenheit. And that's not wind chill. That's actual air temperature. I happen to have this screenshot where it's minus 29. And, again, just nothing works like it's supposed to. I'm happy to report, though, that our stuff was the only stuff actually that worked consistently. Even the Zamboni froze. They had to drive it to a nearby arena to fill it with water. And by the time it got back, they go like 4 miles an hour. By the time it got back, the water had frozen it.
Oh, jeez.
So everything this was a unique challenge. They had never had one this cold ever. And here you can see, again, Fox Sports is nationally televising these games. They sent all these guys out with like flamethrowers to try to, clear the fog off the glass because the cameras couldn't shoot through the glass. So it was a tremendous experience. And again, you can see there's a scoreboard in the background and stadium seating, and this was all built temporary and then torn down, and they tore most of it down in the spring, actually, which makes sense. And if you're wondering, if you say, how does somebody dress for that kind of weather? This is my attire right here. So, we can see there's thermal underwear, a winter parka, a gaiter, gloves that are rated to like Antarctica or something. I don't know. Those boots are amazing. It feels like you're walking like on pillows in the moon. It's the most clumsy thing you walk around in. But my feet were toasty. They're just amazing.
There's just no running when you're wearing a pair of boots like that, though.
No, like I said, you run like an astronaut.
Or the pants or the heavy jackets. There's just there's no moving quickly.
There's another reason there's no running, because if I run, I'm going to start breathing deeply, and you do not want to suck that cold air into your lungs.
29 below.
So here we can see a shot, and I've upgraded my stocking cap from one of our black crew caps that you can see here to one for our local university's hockey team. I wanted to get in the spirit. But here you can see this is the game on Fox Sports, and this is our university playing behind me. Never mind the weird camera artifacts. The image actually looked great. But, here we can see this video wall hung by where we saw those fire rings and things. And this too, we basically left the video wall run 24/7. We had the video wall processors, and we had fiber optics connecting. There were several video walls. We had fiber optics connecting these things together over this huge area, to get the video signal distributed. And those boxes, we enclosed them, and we put heaters in them and thermostats, and we basically had them climate controlled, to keep the electronics at temperature. We didn't have the same ability with the video walls, so we basically just left them run. We put an ad reel on for the sponsors and let it run overnight, so the video walls hopefully just wouldn't die.
Yeah.
And when we called the manufacturer of these video walls, we said, and we're watching the forecast just get worse and worse.
Yep.
It was like, oh, it's going to be minus 15. Oh, it's going to be minus 20. Oh, it's going to be minus 30. Oh, it's going to be minus 35. We're just, it's like, how low can this go? So I think it was minus 20. We called the manufacturer and we said, will your video walls work at 20 below?
Yep.
And they said, below what? Like they had no concept that it could get below zero, and we're not talking absolute zero here, we're talking Fahrenheit zero.
Yeah.
Anyway, the speakers worked great. They were just there to provide the TV sound. So people watching the game, everything, I'm really happy everything worked. So that was a good deal. So that was one set of challenges, but something else you'll notice, you see that strap behind me there, there's outriggers and things on the truss support. And then there's also guy lines. We basically put up a giant sail. So we want to make sure that the video wall doesn't tip over. And one of the things that we did, you can see it was hung with span sets, which actually gave the wall a little bit of give.
Sure.
So we didn't attach it rigidly to the truss. We wanted to give it a little bit of ability to sway, and if necessary, because again, weather is so unpredictable. So we didn't want anybody to get hurt. All right. Let's do the video thing again. There we go.
There we go.
So that's Hockey Day, Minnesota. Another crazy Minnesota tradition is a festival that's held about an hour from here, and it is on a frozen lake. It's not a parking lot. The festival is held on a frozen lake, and I forget how many tens of thousands of people come, but they have stages. It's a festival. They have stages and bands and debauchery, and it's something else.
It is, yeah.
All in the name of spring fever, I think.
All in the name of fishing.
Yes. So let's take a look at some of those pictures real quick. This is cool. This is the ice bar behind us, and here you can see again. This is outdoor lighting. We've got this ice bar lit, and you can see there's some gobos projecting the ice hole logo. And I think that ice bar weighs like 40,000 pounds or something, and it's of course sitting on a frozen lake. That is a lake underneath him, and there for those of you who don't know, Robin, that's the Minnesota sense of humor. Bring out an umbrella and some chairs and kick back on your beach. Actually, you're on the lake, but it's neither here nor there. The lake becomes one giant beach.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. So I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah, there you
Let's
go.
do this. You got a sneak peek there. So this is a VIP lounge tent, and the columns that you see there are also made out of ice. They're carved out of ice, and there are frozen bottles on top there. That's real Windsor Canadian bottles frozen in ice. And then, of course, those are all gobos. Each gobo is projected by a light. So we had a whole army of lights projecting gobos. There's more throughout the different walls of this tent. And what was really cool, and of course, these are, again, you can see they're color gobos. These were all Coolant gobos, though, because they were temporary. Sponsors change every year. So, we said, well, let's go for the $60 gobos instead of the $500 ones. The bottles that you see, you'll notice they're in various stages of tip. Those were in gobo rotators, so it looked like the bottles were pouring out. It was kind of fun. Anyway, they loved it. The sponsor was just like, throwing money at him. He's so happy. So just take my money.
It's good. Let's do it.
But this is what we should do for our clients. I mean, it basically created almost like a bidding war, where the other sponsors were like, well, I want more than what he had. And, every year the client came to me, he's like, we got to do more. We got to do more. We got to do more.
Up the game, yes. And
that's what you want. I mean, that's what you want is a client who says, I need to spend more. I need to do more, right? That's a happy client. And that's a happy us too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
This is the not happy part. Here you can see a small truss that was holding some lights, lighting up some ice carvings. Of course, the combination of millions of pounds of weight on the ice and warm temperatures and a lot of people caused the top of the ice to melt. And then, of course, when it got cold again, that ice froze again. So we had to hammer that truss out of 8 inches of new ice. This is one of the rare times where teardown takes longer than setup.
Oh, yes. Trying to get that out of that ice would have been just a pain.
I mean, setup takes like 4 days, but teardown you're just out there. Of course, you don't want to damage your equipment either. So you're hammering as gently as you can while also trying to break ice.
So for those of you, what you're seeing, this is on the lake, and there's probably about 3 feet of ice below that, somewhere in that ballpark. And when you have things on that on a sunny day, the sun will warm the plate, and then that water comes up through the hole, through any spot on the lake or through cracks. Again, that's safe, but you'll have water, and this happens. Fish houses, they've been talking ice fishing in the chat. Fish houses will commonly have this, where there'll be weight, snow will come on, you'll get 1.5 foot of snow on the ice, it'll push down, water comes up, and the fish houses will freeze in, and it can take hours to try to break something out that typically would be crank it up and off you go. So this isn't unusual in Minnesota. It's just that I see that, and the amount of work it's going to take to get that out.
It's brutal, and of course the weather doesn't really cooperate with you. I mean, you're working in -20 weather, -10, whatever.
Yeah,
it's unpleasant. You have to be very careful. You don't grab onto metal things with your bare hands.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating when you're trying to work with hardware, nuts and bolts, that sort of thing. So you learn things. Here's a picture here you can see, and this is me. There you can see some of the feeder cables going by my feet. But here you can see that's a lake. I've brushed away some of the snow, so you can see that is in fact a frozen lake. So This room here was pretty cool. Again, we're on ice, but they wanted it to look like the room was on fire, and I'm just really happy with how that turned out. I thought our team did a really cool job on that. So, and I thought, you know what? I have a video. I'm going to play this video. Yes, I am. This is going to be fantastic because we had some people that were, and I think my video froze again, didn't it? Well, let me unfreeze my video. We had some people that were not familiar with this.
Okay.
We had a guy from Atlanta. We had some, crew from other parts of the country. And as we're driving these large trucks out on the ice, they're ready to jump out of the truck. And they're just
they're like hanging from the running board.
They are, literally. I'm not even kidding. That is absolutely what they were doing. He was standing on the running board. They're just convinced that we're going in the lake. So this we had a lot of fun with. And as you said, John, there's about 3 feet of ice underneath. But when that water comes on top and then it freezes again, you have maybe a thinner layer of ice on top. So I've got a video here where we had a lot of fun with our southern friends. And there might be some offensive language in this, because they're not impressed. Let's just take a look. These are a great shot of my feet here.
So again, that is the lake.
They were not digging it. They were just not having it at all.
So for, again, those of you who see feet of ice, but you'll get that layer in the winter where you'll have, maybe you might have an inch or two of water and then a skim at the top as it's just freezing again. This happens especially after snowstorms and spots. So Ben is walking, half an inch of ice there maybe?
Yeah, and there's probably 6 inches of water. I do have another video where I wanted to see how deep it was, and it got pretty deep inside the tents, particularly because the tents were heated.
Yeah.
So they were really bad. But yeah, it was, if I'd have fallen through there, I maybe would have got my ankle wet. Mm-hmm. It was still safe to drive trucks on. The trucks would just make ruts, in that ice, but there's still 3 feet of ice underneath and you're not going anywhere. Yeah. But we didn't tell our southern friends that right at the moment. We wanted to have a little fun. So,
yes, Robert.
You thought I was a nice guy. I'm not a nice guy.
Yeah, Robin, it's cracking. Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, you can hear it now. Now the video was taken after all the fun was had. Didn't think about it, but you can still hear him talking in the background, and he's scared the bleep out of me.
Fun stuff. So to summarize, indoor lights can be used in the proper situation outdoors.
Yep.
Lighting can be used in a variety of different warm temperatures or cold temperatures, just taking the proper precautions.
Yep.
Foggers can do a lot of different things. Getting the right one for your application is very important.
Yep.
And let's see. 30 below in Minnesota is actually a lot of fun.
Well, it's my opinion. The only thing fun about it is talking about it.
Which we do. Let's face it, we do.
You got to get your entertainment value out of it somehow, because being in it is no fun. Inside the production trailer, the heaters were running at full capacity, and these were basically construction trailers that they set up for locker rooms and command posts. And in our case, our production trailer was inside of a construction trailer, which are not the most climate controlled things, But anyway, they had heaters in there going full blast, and it got up to about 55 above, which is an 80-degree improvement.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, at 55 degrees, I had to just start shedding layers fast. It felt so warm after being out in 30 below for so long. You walk in and you almost couldn't get that stuff off fast enough.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Yeah, that's always when we're out ice fishing in that type of a situation. Someone comes in there and they're like, "Oh, you've got it warm in here." It's like 45 degrees in here, but comparatively,
it's really a matter of perspective. My kids didn't want to go on a bike ride the other day because it was 68 and it was cold. It's too cold. Like 68 is about what we have the house set at, and maybe it's 70, but anyway. 68 is going to feel amazing in about 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Just perspective.
Yeah, that it is. So, well, Ben, thank you very much for putting some things together and the discussion and look at outdoor lighting and some of the different applications there. And thank you guys for being with us this evening. If you have any questions or if you're going to be doing something and you're like, hey, Ben, got any ideas? Just reach out to Ben, Ben at nlfxpro.com. You can email Ben and ask him questions about a project you have coming up here as we're getting ready for the Halloween season.
As that insurance company says, we've seen some things. So no matter what, no matter how weird your request is, we might have seen it.
We've probably seen it. We paid for it. No, that's different. That's different. All right, you guys have a good evening. We'll be back in about top of the hour here. We've got Brian and Jay getting ready to talk contracts tonight, which is always a fun topic. We'll see you in a bit.
See ya.